Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So this is a virtual uh, report about the government and institution under the subject Administration of Rural and Urban Development. By the way, I am Nashrifa Kali, your student. Hello po, Sir Professor Elinor Amil, and also to my classmate. So now let's proceed. Yung outline ng aking topic about the governance, kung paano nabuo ang governance as well as the institutions, no. Yung mga subtopics niya, ano ba yung role ng national government, the LGUs, and the small unit of the government, which is the barangays, and rural and urban development. Pangalawa, meron tayong decentralization and local autonomy under the Local Government Code, itong batas na RA 7160. At pangatlo, ang subtopic ay policy frameworks. Ano ba yung agreements, no? The frameworks of the developments in planning. Example dito is yung the PDP, Philippine Development Plan ng Pilipinas. SDG, the Sustainable Development Goals, yung 17 SDGs, and the ambition natin 2040. So, yes. So, ang first subtopic is the role of national government ng LGU, barangay, in rural and urban development. So, unahin muna natin ano ba ang role ng national government. So, pag sabihin natin national government is sila, kumbaga, sila yung macro level ng planning. Sila yung nagsiset ng, kumbaga sila yung brain, central brain ng ating, ang pagtakbo ng Pilipinas, kumbaga. Sila nang nagsiset ng policy, they set the policy, they set the direction, also sila yung gumagawa ng mga legislation, and also they formulates the pang-national development plan, also oversight and support the LGU. Now, ginawa ang RA 7160 of the Local Government Code. This was enacted in the year of 1991 and naging decentralized ang ating LGU. Although ang LGU is may autonomy sila, pero they are monitor pa rin or oversight from the national government. Ang kagandahan lang, ang national ay binigyan nila ng powers, no, para i-develop ang each LGUs, mapa-provincial, mapa-municipal, or even the city also, ng both rural at urban development. So, yun, binigyan sila ng kumbaga powers to manage their local affairs. So, now let's define ano ang role ng isang local government, no? Kanina na discuss natin yung role ng national government. Ngayon i-discuss natin ano ang role ng local government. So dito naman ang local government is a sub-national authority. So meaning ang LGU ay isang authority na kumbaga gumagalaw lang siya doon sa within its jurisdiction, doon lang sa loob ng isang restricted area kung saan siya nanalo, no? So ibig sabihin ang mga mayor ng Davao is nasa Davao lang, hindi siya pwedeng makialam sa ibang lugar. That's why yon, restricted area ang local government. So, ang local government, meron tayong dual character, which is, as you can see the slides, meron tayong local government units or political subdivisions, no? And also, corporate body. So, ang sabihin natin political, political and corporate. So, dalawa, dual character ang ating local government. So, when we say political body is sila ay extension ng estado para mag-perform ng executive, legislative, and administrative function. So, these three functions ay yan yung ginagawa ng isang LGU, no? So, halimbawa, what are these examples? So, halimbawa, a good example is yung pag-draft ng ordinance or pagpasa ng kanilang ordinance, no? Sa kanilang respective jurisdiction. So, pag sabihin naman nating corporate, they are also considered as a corporate bodies. Dito sa pangalawang slides, no? So, ibig sabihin is legal personality sila. So, pwede silang pumasok sa mga contracts, 'di ba? Yung halimbawa may gagawing road construction. So, 'di ba may mga kontrata 'yan? So, pwedeng pumasok diyan ang ating LGU. Another one is yung magkaroon sila ng assets, no? At magkolekta ng sarili nilang taxes. Aside from the national taxes, meron ding local government na taxes or the city, yung 'di ba may city treasurer tayo? Here in Marawi City, may city, lahat ng lungsod ng city is merong kanilang, pwede silang magkolekta ng sarili nilang taxes. So, ang purpose noon ay para kolektahan, para punduhan kung ano man yung kailangang i-develop sa kanilang area. So, yun yung purpose, no, ng LGU. So, itong pangatlong paragraph, no, they may exist under a sovereign or quasi-sovereign state having a federal or unitary structure of the government. So, it's either autonomy versus supervision. So, depende sa sistema ng gobyerno. Kanina sinabi ko na it's either unitary versus federal. Ang mga LGU kasi is pwedeng maging highly autonomous sa ilalim ng direct supervision. Halimbawa na lang dito sa Pilipinas is we are unitary. So we practice general supervision ng president over the local government unit. So here in the slide, no, again, unahin muna natin itong another role ng LGU. So, sila yung tinuturing nating mga frontliners actors. So, bakit nga ba nating tinuturing natin silang frontliner? So, dahil sila yung mga direktang control ng mga implementasyon ng mga polisiya. As what I've said, they pass the ordinances, it's their own executive order. And also, sila din yung nangunguna doon sa mga pangangailangan ng ating lokalidad, no? So, ano ba itong pangangailangan nila? So, halimbawa yung basic services. So, they also provide the basic services tulad ng health center, tulad ng local roads, at also garbage collection. So, these are the role of every LGU. When it comes to the economic and environmental governance, ang bawat LGU kasi ay may kani-kanyang hamon, no? Halimbawa na lang doon sa urban LGU. Ang urban LGU ay maaaring yung focus nila is papaano malesen yung traffic, no? Ano ba yung actually sa urban development is they are focusing on every zoning. So kailangan may mga zone yan. Habang yung rural local government is syempre focus sa irrigation, focus sa develop ng mga agricultural, no? And also support also the agricultural needs. When it comes to the social welfare, is also a frontliner ding itong ating mga LGU. So bakit, no? Sila yung mas nakakaalam kung sino yung mga marginalized sectors. At also, ano ba yung mga kailangan nilang tulong for those marginalized. And pangalawa, itong barangays, no? Ano ba ang role ng ating barangay? So sila yung tinatawag na smallest administrative units, serve as a direct connectors to the grassroots. Kumbaga, sila talaga yung smallest administrative unit, at dito naman sa barangay may mga kasi sa administrative hierarchy, ang barangay ang pinaka maliit na unit, at the same time pinaka critical na pagdating sa grassroots development. So sila yung nagsisilbing direct connector also sa ating marginalized, sa ating mamamayan also. And ang community kasi participation, ang barangay kasi ang platform para sa participatory governance. So dito nagaganap ang mga barangay assembly kung saan direktang maririnig talaga ng boses ng tao. So, ang barangay naman ay sila yung magfo-forward sa city or the city mayor, the mayor from the provinces, different provinces, also to the governor, no? So, kaya kailangan talaga yung important talaga yung barangay, even they are a very smallest administrative unit. Kasi sa kanila din magsisimula yung tinatawag nating peace and order. 'Di ba? So sila ang unang may response sa mga localized conflicts kung ano man yung nangyayari sa kanilang lugar. Kasi hindi naman yan direktang naka-connected sa LGUs. So, yun lang, no? So, in addition, no, overall, is ang national government ay they are providing strategic and fiscal framework. So halimbawa na lang yung budget, papaano ma-allocate at papaano ma-allocate ng proper at malawak na desisyon, while ang the LGUs and as well as the barangay is sila naman yung nag-a-address ng actual development that needs of the every community, no? Sa pamamagitan ng ating mga resources. So here another subtopic is decentralization and local autonomy under the Local Government Code, or RA 7160. So, local government is the lowest level of elected territorial organization within a state, whether federal state, merong unitary state, and federal state. So broadly, local governments have twofold tasks. So first, merong provide the local public services such as garbage collection, health services, yung kanina binanggit ko na social welfare, ano pa ba yun? Environmental services, no? And also to implement the national welfare policies. So these are both federal, state, or it's either unitary state. So, what is governance, no? From the definition of the UNDP definition. So, bago tayo lumalim sa local context, i-define muna natin ano nga ba ang governance. Ayon sa UNDP, ang governance ay hindi lang tungkol sa mga opisyal ng gobyerno. Ito ay exercise, political, and economic, administrative authority, no? Para i-manage ang affairs ng isang bansa. hindi lang ito about on uh, top-down approach, no? Na isang utos lang na top-down approach. Kasama kasi dito yung process ng relationship at yung mga institutions kung saan ang mga mamamayan ay nakakapag-articulate ng kanilang interest at nakakapag-exercise ng kanilang karapatan. So, it embraces all the methods, good or bad, kung paano distribute ang power at ang resources. So, in short, it is about how we manage our collective problems and our society. Now, here in this slide, as you can see, meron tayong local governance, differentiate the unitary versus the federal. So, dito tayo sa subnational level, which is the local governance na tinatawag natin. Dito tinitignan natin kung paano hinahati ng kapangyarihan or the powers into the resources sa specific territory. So, depende actually ito sa sistema ng gobyerno. Sa unitary system kasi, here in the Philippines, we are unitary. Merong mga clear hierarchy. Ang national government, which is the superior, at ang local units ay kumukuha sa kapangyarihan mula sa central office, no? Which is the national. Now, yung control ang control ay mas centralized pag sinabing unitary system. Pag sinabing federal system naman is kagaya ng kumbaga autonomous sila. Mas autonomous yung federal. Ang mga local divisions, they are managing their own taxes, no? So that is a principal governance at may mga kakayahang imitate ang sariling conflicts when it comes to the federal system. And of course, ang mahalagang spectrum mula sa centralization patungo sa decentralization ay ang goal ng local governance ay ilipat ang serbisyo ng tao, anuman ang sistema ng gobyerno. So, these are the two differentiate, no, of this system of the local governance. So, here in this slide, local governance as a strategy of democracy. So, bakit nga ba natin pinag-aaralan ang local governance? So, dito natin makikita, no? Ayon kay De Guzman and Reforma, year 1993, local governance is seen as a strategy towards democratizing the political system and accelerating the attainment of sustainable development. Kumbaga, ito ay isang strategy of democratization, yung local governance. Sa slide na ito kasi is, makikita natin ang slogan ng 1960s. To bring the governance closer to the people. Pero sa modernong public administration, ang democracy ay hindi lang basta magboto tayo, ito ay ang pag-blur ng linya sa pangalan ng governor or ang namumuno. At ang govern, which is ang pinamumunuan. Ang tatlong pillars ng democratic local governance is, una, meron tayong participation. So, hindi lang tagatanggap tayo ng biyaya ang tao, dapat ay kasama din sila, ang tao ay kasama sa pagbuo ng policy. So, we also need to responsive, no? Gaano kabilis sumagot ang LGU sa demands ng komunidad. Kasi minsan, ano ba yung rule ng local governance kung kung hindi naman sila nagre-response yung demands ng stakeholders or the community itself. And the local governance should be accountability, no? May malinaw tayo na pananagutan ng isang local governance sa paggamit ng resources. So, in other words, or sa madaling salita, ang local governance ay ang pagbibigay ng say or kumbaga sila yung boses sa mga ordinaryong mamamayan, sa mga desisyon na nakakaapekto sa ating sa buhay nila. So, yun. And so para mas lalong maintindihan natin ang decentralization, no? Go for the deep part. First, unahin muna natin ang centralism or centralization. Decentralization and local autonomy may be better understood against the opposite tendency of centralization. So in terms of centralization is the concentration ng power. So dito ang authority, ang responsibility, at ang kakayahan na gumawa ng basic functions ay nasa isang central governing unit lamang. So, ang brain center, ang kanina sinabi ko, yung national government, they are the brain center. So, sila yung nagsiset ng goals, sila yung nagdedesisyon kung papaano gamitin ang resources at sila din yung nag-evaluate, no? Kung naging matagumpay ba yung isang programa, ano na nga ba yung program, saan na nga ba yung programa na implement mo ng maayos, so this and that. So sa sistema ng ito ay mga ang nasa ibaba o ang mga local units ay they are the one naman who implement the programs or the projects, no, of the set policy ng ginawa ng centralization or decentralism. So, yun siya. And so another one here in this slide is about the operational elements ng centralization. Diba kanina diniscuss ko yung centralization. So, these are the elements. So, paano nga ba gumagana sa ground, no? Operationally. So, kapag ang centralized ang isang gobyerno, ang central government ay may tinatawag tayong command and control, no? Here in this, the first one, command and control the behavior of its field units and the local government. So, tinatawag natin command and control over its field units and the local government unit. So, sa madaling salita, mapapansin ninyo itong sumusunod na katangian nila, itong by setting limits on or directing their goals. So, marami ito sila. Hindi ko na babasahin kasi nakikita naman natin sa slide. So, ito yung kumbaga sila ang nagdidikta. Yung centralization kasi, sila yung nagdidikta ng limitasyon sa mga goals, no, ng local units. So, minsan kasi may mga central unit na ang nagsasubstitute ng sarili nilang judgment. So, kumbaga, ibig sabihin kasi ay may mga bago makakilos ang local unit natin ay kailangan ng prior approval or permiso mula sa central office. So, may mga mahigpit din kasi na mga monitoring kapag ang LGU ay lumilihis sa central guidelines ang national governments. So, although may mga powers sila to manage their own area, territorial jurisdiction, as well as their resources, may mga kailangan na
Kumaga may mga kailangan na instances na kailangan pa ng permiso from the national government. So, kumbaga, kung hindi nila ito sundin, may mga sanctions, pwede ma-sanctions ang ating local government, at para kasi ang purpose nun is para tayo ay iisa lang yung direction natin. Kumbaga, isa lang direction natin na tinatahak natin sa ating bansa. So, these are the ano ba to, elements ng centralization. So, here in this slide naman is, 'di ba kanina is ang sabi ko kanina is ang local government ay may pagka-autonomous, no? So, maaari nating itanong, bakit nga ba kung gusto nating maging autonomous ang isang LGU, bakit kailangan pang i-centralization? So, may mga valid justification po tayo kung bakit kailangan ang central guidance. So, as you can see the slide, merong unit and coherence, no? So, para magkaroon tayo ng isang comprehensive framework ng ating bansa. So, hindi pwede kasi na we are different norms, no? Or pamantayan ng bawat bayan. So, dahil magkakagulo tayo talaga. So, there are national standards na tinatawag na may mga may mga issue na beyond the competence o lampas sa kakayahan ng isang maliit na bayan. So, halimbawa lamang ito is the foreign relations, environmental standards, human rights, at social justice. So, ang mga ito actually is nangangailangan ng mga national perspective, hindi kayang i-manage ng isang barangay lamang o isang maliit na munisipyo, no? So, kailangan is as a whole talaga. O, kumbaga pang malawakan na proteksyon ng human rights nang walang tulong at gabay mula sa national government. So, these are the valid, no, reasons why we need also the centralization. So, kanina is diniscuss ko yung centralism, no? So, we are here naman sa decentralization or a global trend of decentralization. So, yung kasaysayan ng decentralization kasi, noong 20th century, ang centralization kasi is sikat sa mga model para sa development ng buong mundo. Ngayon, pero pagdating sa middle 1980s, but since middle 1980s kasi is nagkakaroon tayo ng malaking shift, nagising ang ating bansa at ang ating mga academic na ang katotohanan na hindi sapat ang isang sentralisadong gobyerno. So, kumbaga hindi lang sapat yung centralism para tugunan ng ating lahat ng ating pangangailangan ng bansa. So, bakit daw? Bakit ito naging trend? Dahil nakita ng mga international donor agency at ang gobyerno na ang pag-decentralize ay hindi lang administratibong desisyon. So, ito ay isang paraan para gawing mas efficient at responsive ang gobyerno. So, gayon pa man, ang kailangan nating tandaan na ang decentralization ay may iba't ibang motive, no? We are different motive at kumbaga kahulugan ng depende sa kung ano ang pagpapatupad nito. So, yun ang ating decentralization. So, another slide na is the local autonomy, no? Dito naman tayo sa concept of the local autonomy. So, ito yung sinasabi nilang or tinuturi nilang end of the goal, ang ating administrative reforms. So, ayon kay Dr. Alex Brillantes, ang local autonomy daw ay degree of a self-determination ng isang local government unit laban sa central government. So, ibig sabihin, ito ang kakayahan ng mga probinsya at ang lungsod na pamunuan ang kanilang sarili or the self-government. Ito yung ini-enhance yung freedom para sa mga tinatawag na nating peripheral units. Pero yung pinaka-importante dito sa slide na to is yung local autonomy is necessary a prerequisite is the decentralization. So hindi tayo magkakaroon ng tunay na autonomy kung walang formal na paglilipat ng kapangyarihan mula sa national government. So here in this slide naman, another definition of the decentralization from the Rondinale and the Kima. I don't know the pronunciation. So decentralization is defined quite broadly as a transfer of planning, decision-making, or administrative authority from the central government to its field of organization, local governments, or non-governmental organizations. So in short, ito yung paglipat ng mga transfer of planning, decision-making, even the administrative authority. So, ito sa nililipat from the central government patungo sa field of organization, yung mga regional offices natin, 'di ba? May mga region 1, region 2 hanggang sa region 12, no? So the local government units naman, including the local government units and the NGOs. And at mahalagang actually maunawaan ang decentralization ay hindi lang one size fits of all, at nag-iiba ito kasi depende sa gaanong karaming authority ang binibigay ng gaanong kalawak na autonomy na nakamit natin. So bagamat kasi ang devolution at ang deconcentration are the most known forms, no? Yung pinakasikat na anyo nito is ang ating pag-aaral ay talagang kumbaga mas anyo sila sa decentralization at mas kilala. Actually, the 4 forms of decentralization. So here in slide, again, sa devolution of the power and authority. So una, ang devolution is ang LGU, the local government units are autonomous, independent, and clearly perceived as a separate levels of government over which central authorities exercise little or no direct control. So, ibig sabihin, ang LGU ay bilang sa autonomous at independent sila, ang central authorities ay may little or no direct control sa kanilang pang-araw-araw na operation. So, pangalawa, Pangalawa, the LGU have a clear and legally recognized. So, meaning, recognize the boundaries or the territorial boundaries. Ang kapangyarihan ng isang LGU kasi is, kumbaga naka-base sa kanilang teritoryo. Pangatlo, LGU have a corporate status and the power to secure resources to perform their functions. So, since corporate status sila, they have their legal powers na para humanap ng kanilang resources. Halimbawa lamang is, 'di ba may mga tourist, may mga resources, kumbaga may mga tourist na pwede nilang gawin, tourist spot. So, isa yun sa example, no? At higit sa lahat kasi, ang devolution ay they need to develop the local government and as an institutions. And the LGU has the ability also to interact reciprocally with other units and the system of the government, which is also part. So, yun, when we reciprocal interaction sa pagitan ng iba't ibang unit sa loob ng ating sistema. So, devolution as a political decentralization pa rin. So, according sa UNTAP or United Nations Technical Assistance Program, ang ano ba to? Ang definition ng UNTAP, ang devolution is tinatawag ang devolution bilang political decentralization. So, bakit nga ba, ano ba to, political? So, dahil hindi lang ito paglilipat ng trabaho sa mga LGU, ito ay paglipat din ng power and responsibility at ang resources. So, ayon sa UNTAP, ang devolution ay may tatlong pangunahing layunin. So, grant the greater autonomy. So, kilala ang karapatan ng bawat LGU sa self-government. Self-reliance, gawing sapat at hindi palaging nakadepende ang mga LGU sa pondo ng national government, which is yung pag-collection ng taxes, no? Isa yan na sa example. So, improve the capabilities. So, mas lalong pinapalakas ng mga administrative, even the technical skills ng mga local officials, para sa, kumbaga, maging epektibo ang kanilang serbisyo sa ating public servant. So, bilang public administration, kailangan nating malinaw sa atin ng devolution, ano ba yung highest form ng decentralization, dahil dito ay binibigay ang tunay na ano nga ba yung power of the local sa ating pamahalaan. Yes, another form of decentralization is the kanina na topic natin yung devolution. Another is the deconcentration. Deconcentration is involving the redistribution of the administrative responsibility only within the central government. So this can be done in different ways. So una is the shifting of workload from the central government ministry or the agency headquarters to its own field staff located in offices outside the national capital. So, nakalimutan ko pala, no? Ang deconcentration yung pinaka-conservative form of decentralization. So, kumbaga yung company, hindi to lang yung pagbibigay ng independence sa branch. So, ito yung pagpapahalaga din sa mga tao ng provinces, different provinces, para doon ang office, no? Habang hawak pa rin yung main office, which is the central government, diba? So merong breakdown. So itong kanina na binasa ko, yung administrative workload shifting. Ibig sabihin yung paglipat sa opisina. So dito yung focus ng geographical dispersal, inililipat lang ang trabaho mula sa central office. Halimbawa sa Manila patungo sa mga regional provinces offices. So, yung logic dito kasi is para hindi kumbaga para hindi masyado para hindi masyado sa main office at para mas malapit yung serbisyo sa mga tao, 'di ba, by different regional or the provinces, no? So, pangalawa is the through field administration. So, ibig sabihin dito sa pangalawa is, ano ba ito? Field administration within discretion. So, ito yung advance ng kaunti. Hindi lang actually workload yung nilipat ng central government, kundi binibigyan ng mga field officers ng limited decision-making power. So, ang logic dito naman is ang nasa ground ang mas nakakaalam sa mga sitwasyon, of course, no? Kesa central office. So, binibigyan sila ng mga decision making, power for decision making, kung paano nila i-resolve yung mga issue na nangyayari sa ground. So, and also how they are going to implement it. At syempre, depende na rin sa local conditions. So, kumbaga, may mga policy na hindi uubra doon sa national or sa central or doon sa ground, no? So kahit anong policy na ibigay dyan ng central government, hindi naman umuubra doon sa ground. So these are ito yung sinasabi dito sa pangalawang through field administration. So, pangatlo, yung local administration in which all the subordinate levels of government within country. Ano ba to? Ang local administration is actually an agent. Ang subordinate model. So, yung mga lahat ng subordinate levels of the government ay tinuturing na agents or extensions lang ang central authority. So, karaniwan yung executive branch or ang presidente, no? So, ang logic dito kasi, yung the command structure, yung local government units o local offices ay sila yung gumagalaw. Sila yung gumagalaw doon sa gumagalaw bilang kamay ng isang national government. So, yun yung deconcentrations in the redistribution of the administrative responsibilities within the central government. So, here in this part is in the work of the United Nations Technical Assistance Program pa rin, or the UNTAP. Ano ba to? Ito yung pagkaibahan ng marami kasing studies ng focus of the critical distinctions sa pagitan ng deconcentration at devolution. So maraming nagpapalit sa dalawang itong concept. Pero ayon kay Seidentopf, I don't know the pronunciation, is magkaiba daw ang nature of these two concepts. So, yung deconcentration, administrative in nature, ayon sa UNTAP, kay Seidentopf, ang deconcentration is purely administrative. The concept is, ibig sabihin ng ibig sabihin niya daw is, halimbawa, ang malaking puno, ang deconcentration doon is ang pagpapahaba ng mga sanga. Ang sustansya at ang utos nanggaling pa rin sa isang trunk or the national government. So, yun yung concept niya. So, nililipat lang ang trabaho, ang function sa regional or the local offices, pero within the same agency pa rin. Halimbawa, ang DepEd Central Office ay naglalagay ng DepEd regional offices, diba? So, sila yung iisang pamilya lang. So, in short, yung boss, yung regional director, may mga secretary pa rin sa Manila. When it comes to devolution naman, is political in nature. So, ito yung mas radical or lalim ng uri ng decentralization. So, ang concept is hindi lang ito pinagpapahaba ng sanga, ito ang pagtatanim ng bagong puno na may sariling ugat na. So, gets? Dito naman is ang power na nililipat ng central government patungo sa LGU, like the governor or the mayor. So sila yung nagmamandato mula sa taong bayan through election. So hindi dahil ina-appoint lang sila ng central office. So ina-appoint sila ng taong bayan. So yung pagkakaiba ni Seidentopf is para sa madali mong matandaan natin ang feature ng deconcentration, devolution, nature in administrative internal management, no? The political governance or the governance or autonomy. So yun yung differentiate. Hindi ko napahabayan. Yun yung differentiate ng deconcentration at devolution. So, here in the slide is the third form of delegation. So, kanina, binanggit ko yung first and the second one, deconcentration. Ngayon naman is the third form is delegation. So, delegation into a semi-autonomous organization. So, dito yung, decision making at the management authority ay binibigay sa mga organisasyon tinatawag nating semi-autonomous o parastatal organizations. So, ibig sabihin, ang mga grupong ito ay hindi direktang nasa ilalim ng control ng regular na minister or ang department ng government. So, sila yung, meron silang sariling character or batas na nagpapahintulot sa kanila na gumalaw ng mas mabilis at mas efficient. Ang mga a good example is yung public corporation gaya ng GOCC, no? Yung Regional Planning Authorities at mga Special Project Implementation Units. So, bakit ito ginagawa? So, may mga development functions na madalas nangangailangan sila ng mga technical expertise bitaw at ang flexibility kung minsan mas mahirap at mahirap makamit yung yung loob ng regular at very rigid na structure of the government. So here in the slide, ang delegation is mas malawak, mas extensive kumpara doon sa simpleng administrative deconcentration. So another here in the slide, the fourth one, no? Ang pang-apat is ito yung huling anyo ng transfer of the functions. Kanina, as what I've said, from the government patungo sa mga non-governmental institutions. So, may dalawa tayong aspect, no? So, una is meron tayong privatization. Ang privatization is ito yung paggawa ng mga produkto o pagsublay ng serbisyo ay nililipat sa mga private organizations. Ang logic dito is ang efficiency. So, mas naniniwala ang mga marami na mas mabilis at mas mura ang serbisyo kapag may competition sa pribadong sektor. So, yung debureaucratization, hindi ako makano, debureaucratization is ito naman yung mas malalim na konsepto. So dito yung mga desisyon na hindi na lamang ginagawa ng mga mamabatas o opisyal na pamamagitan ng executive decree. Sa halip ay binubuksan ng mga proseso sa mas maraming political interest or publiko. So, madaling salita, ang debureaucratization ay may pag-aalis ng monopolya ng government sa pagdidesisyon. Hinahayaan lamang yung mga voluntary or private sectors na kumbaga katuwang sila sa pagbuo or pagpapatupad ng mga policy. So, yung mga ito sila yung pagkakakilala na ang government ay hindi lang yung government yung gumagawa ng sariling policy. So may mga may mga iba't iba ding hindi na kayang gawin lamang, no, na mag-isa. So to wrap up ang devolution of our discussion, kasi pang-apat na ito, no? Ang devolution is, when we say devolution is the political, when we say deconcentration is more on administrative, transferring of administrative functions, when we say delegation is more on functional, and And the fourth is the privatization or debureaucratization. Isang concept lang yan. Excuse me, market civil society. More on market or the civil society. So, ito yung, kumbaga, ito yung pagpili sa mga pagitan ng mga depende sa target ng government. So, yun. So, here, we have the concept of local autonomy. So, ang local autonomy, ang decentralization kasi ay ang proseso, pero yung local autonomy is yun yung end of goal, no? The decentralization is the process, while the local autonomy naman is the end of the goal. So, dito, saan ba yun? View local autonomy, no, view generally as the enhanced freedom. So, kapag sinabi nating autonomy kasi, ibig sabihin, ay enhanced freedom, may mga peripheral units, mga LGU na malalayong lugar, hindi na sila hindi na sila sunod-sunuran sa mga sunod-sunuran lang sa mga dikta ng dikta from the central governments, no? Ang mahalaga na magkaroon tayo ng tunay na autonomy kung walang decentralization. So, ito yung correlative condition kasi. Ibig sabihin, magkadugtong talaga yung dalawang concept na ito. So, the decentralization itself, no? So, here in this slide is the spectrum ng autonomy. So, dito sa chart na to is makikita natin yung transition mula 'di ba, sa sunod-sunuran tayo sa sunod-sunuran as an agent patungo sa pagiging autonomous or pagiging meron tayong sariling diskarte. So, una is serve more actively as an agents of the central government. So, identify the interest. So, from, sa madaling salita, from tagasunod lang sa interest ng central government, to meron tayong assert their own identities and interests, meaning to sarili tayong identity. Halimbawa, isang local government unit ay nagdedeklara sa sarili nilang ecotourism. Kanina sinabi ko, ecotourism capital. At lahat ng policy nila ay naka-align sa identity na yon. So, hindi lang dahil sa sinabi ng national. So, we have our own. Next is perform more functions for the central government. So, or the functions and power. So, ang LGU ay tagagawa lang ng utos ng central government to ang local government ay meron ng nade-determine kung anong functions ang kailangan ng kanilang nasasakupan. So, sila yung nag-iisip ng solusyon doon sa address the problem, no? Merong mga internal planning. Pangatlo, help articulate the central government goals, translate them into local ones. So, tinatranslate natin ang national goal sa local level. Into ang LGU, mismo yung gumagawa ng sarili nilang development goals. So, pinapasa nila yung mga sarili nilang ordinances na swak sa kanilang context. Pang-apat is we have get more resources from the CJ United Grants, or ito sa madaling salita is the fiscal autonomy, no? The most critical part. So, umaasa lang ang LGU, 'di ba, sa ERA or the National Tax Allotment or United Grants mula sa central government. Dapat yung resources ang gawin ng LGU, yung resources generation, dito natin masusukat yung galing ng isang LGU. Kaya ba nilang mag-collect ng sarili nilang buwis sa kanilang territory at maging allocate ang pondo na hindi lang sila humihingi from the national government or the central government. Panglima is ito yung get more technical aid from the central government for local problem solving. So, or the technical self-reliance. So, ano ba yan? Ibig sabihin from the naghihintay lang ang LGU sa technical aid or the expertise mula sa central, mula sa Manila ba? Para ayusin lang ang problema. Into dapat may mga expertise tayo or strategy tayo na kumbaga may sarili tayong unique ways, no, to solve the problems na ang nakakaintindi lamang kasi is tayo lamang, 'di ba? So halimbawa may mga specific tribal conflicts or unique coastal issues. So these are the example of this chart. So yes, here in this slide naman, kanina, no? So sa puntong ito, tinatalakay dito yung behavioral and operational aspect of the local autonomy. Hindi lamang ito usaping legal, usapin na ito kung paano ba talagang gumagalaw ang isang autonomous sa LGU as a reality, no, sa realidad nila. So, ang top-down, from the top-down tradition, the old paradigm, sinasabi na sa slide na ang nakagawian dati ang local autonomy ay result of decentralization from the top. The reality, sa madaling salita, binigay lang ito ng national government. Ang mindset ng national government ay ang master at ang LGU ang servants na pinayagan lang or allowed or inutusan or required na maging independent. So ito yung isang gift ng concept, no? Kung sino yung nagbigay, siya rin dapat yung pwedeng bumawi. Pero sa modernong public administration, yung autonomy kasi dapat tinitignan bilang isang right or karapatan at ano ba yung kapasidad or kakayahan. Pangalawa is meron tayong operational critical of local autonomy. So paano nating masusukat yung autonomous, no? Paano tayo maging self-determining? Self-determining. So, paano natin masukat yung autonomous nga ba? So, ang isang LGU. So, dito pumapasok yung 5 behavioral attributes. Ito yung 5 behavioral terms as follows. So, first, we have self-determining in terms of goals and functions. Hindi dito naghihintay yung order mula sa Maynila para malaman lang kung ano na yung priority nila. Alam na dapat nila kung kailangan nilang i-farm to market roads, kung mas kailangan ba nila ang technological hubs. Sila ba yung nagde-design ng sarili nilang tadhana? So, number 2 is initiative, leadership, and discretion, decision making, and action. So, in short, that initiative and the leadership. Sa discretion in decision making, hindi pwede laging subject dito is yung approval ng secretary. Ang lahat ng kilos. Ang isang autonomous kasi ng LGU ay may lakas ng loob na kumbaga gumawa ng mga policy or initiative para sa ikakabuti ng kanyang komunidad. Self-reliant, pangatlo, in resources and strategy. fiscal independence, ito yung sinabi na pinaka-crucial. Sino yung nagbabayad, siya ba ang nagdidikta? Kung ang LGU ay 100% dependent sa national allotment or yung ERA na tinatawag natin, ay kung nakadepende lang kasi yung LGU, syempre, mahina yung kita, mahina yung autonomy nila. Kung nakadepende lang sa national. So, yung tunay dapat na autonomous ng isang LGU ay marunong mag-generate ng sarili nilang income at may sarili tayong strategies para ang LGU ay mabuhay. So, pang-apat is the open to the local participants. So, inclusive, ang autonomy ay hindi lang para sa politiko, kundi para sa mga NGOs, people's organizations, private sectors, at ang tunay na autonomous kasi is, kumbaga nararamdaman ng local citizens mismo na andyan ang LGU. Andyan yung pagpapatakbo, pagpapa-implement ng isang government. So, panglima is ang local autonomy dapat is responsive and accountable. So, yan yung mahirap na ngayon, no? Kasi may mga, well, I don't want to be more specific. So, kailangan maging responsive. The social contract, dahil may mga power or autonomy ang isang LGU, may mga responsibilidad na kapag nagkamali ang LGU, hindi nila pwedeng isisi sa national government kasi sila man yung direktang accountable sa kanilang constituents. Sila yung accountable sa kanilang mga constituents, ang mga bumuboto sa kanila. So, yun yung local autonomy. So, in short, ang local autonomy is may freedom from the center. Mula sa national, kumbaga freedom to serve. Meron tayong freedom to serve of the LGU to their respective constituents. So, the last subtopic of my topic is the policy frameworks and development planning. So, example dito is yung PDP, the SDG, and the Ambition natin 2040. So, policy frameworks and development planning, or the PDP, establish the structured long-term goals for socio-economic growth. Ensuring the strategies are aligned with the national vision, such as the Philippine Development Plan 2023 up to 2028. So these are the goal of the economic transformation. So itong framework is kasama dito yung infrastructure, governance, sustainability, guiding the sector-specific actions, including the budget, the evidence-based decision-making for the inclusive development. So, we have to understand the concept. So, we have two concept, no? Policy framework. So, ang policy framework is these are the principles, the structure of rules that guide how organizations, government reaches its goals, no? So may mga framework na kailangan sundin. Otherwise mawala yung effect ng framework. So it should be aligned the core values na, no, at provides the roadmap for the stakeholder engagement and including the evaluation. When it comes to development planning, it is the process of predetermining a nation's vision and identifying the specific program. So kailangan ano ba yung ma-determine, ano ba yung national vision, ano ba yung specific programs and resources that need to achieve. So, yun. So, here in this slide is why development planning. So, development plans, ang development plan kasi dito, ginaguide tayo kung paano natin ma-allocate yung ating resources, projects, at reforms, yung mga kailangan natin i-prioritize yung mga sequences, no? So this aims the inclusive and sustained growth. We need to aim pa rin yung poverty reduction, yung human development and environmental sustainability. So we have the K national frameworks overview. So ang long-term vision is ang ambition natin 2040 is a long-term vision, while a medium-term plan is the Philippine Development Plan or the PDP, which hanggang 6 years lang roadmap ng PDP. So every term yan ng every president na nananalo. So global agenda naman, ito naman yung SDG or the 17 SDG from the United Nations. And the sectoral plans aligned to this are the PPAN or the nutrition, the NUDHF from the urban smart cities, and etc. So these are the key national frameworks. For the ambition natin 2040, which is the long-term national vision, no? The nationwide visioning exercise led by the NEDA in the year 2015 to 2016. So, ang genesis ng people-centered vision, not a political agenda. Ang ambition natin 2040 kasi is hindi lamang ito gawa-gawa lang ng technocrats. So these are sa NEDA kasi noong 2015 to 2016 is nagsagawa sila ng nationwide consultation. So tinatanong yung mga Pilipino, ano nga ba ang gusto mong buhay pagdating sa 2040. So yung result, ito yung mga collective aspiration ng taong bayan. Kaya naman ito tinatawag na visioning exercise. So yung core aspiration ng 2040, yung simple pero malalim yung implikasyon. A comfortable life in predominantly middle class society. So yun yung gustong makamit ng ambition natin 2040. Middle class society where no one is poor and everyone feels secure about the future. So ang tanong, makamit kaya yung no one is poor and everyone feels secure about the future. So yan yung vision ng ambition natin 2040. So medyo matagal-tagal pa, no? So ang sabi nila, matatag, maginhawa, at panatag na matatag at maginhawang panatag. So ang matatag, when we say matatag kasi, sabi nito, is secure about the future. Kumbaga may ipon, may insurance, so yun yung matatag, no? Maginhawa, you have to be comfortable na may sapat kang sariling sariling bahay na nakakapag-travel ka, kumbaga. So, when you say panatag ka, you have to secure na wala kang low crime, you have to be peaceful in environment. So, sa ambition natin 2040, yung zero poverty goal, yung vision ay yun pa rin, yung no one is poor and everyone feels secure about future. Okay, so intended to anchor development planning across administration and political cycles. So, kanina, no, na-discuss natin yung ambition natin 2040. Kung ang ambition natin 2040 is a dream, kasi medyo matagal-tagal yon, long-term talaga. And while the PDP is for 6-year development plan, ang PDP naman is tinatawag nilang execution. So, ang PDP or 6-year roadmap
ang 6-year cycle is aligned with the presidency, no? Kung sino yung elected president. Yung connection ng PDP ay isang comprehensive 6-year development plan. So, ang tanong, bakit 6 years? So, dahil daw, ito yung tumatapat sa termino ng bawat administrasyon. So, mula sa 2023 hanggang 2028 para sa kasalukuyan. Bagamat bawat bawat president kasi may sarili silang focus. Lahat sila may dapat na vision, yung goal nila para sa ambition natin 2040. So, kumbaga, yung ambition ay destination. Ang PDP naman yung sasakyan yung gamitin yung bawat administrasyon. So, translation, vision to action. So, parang gano'n. Concentrate strategy. So, hindi lang ito, listahan ng pangarap, no? Dito natin nilalagay yung public investments at programs para sa inclusive growth ng pag-unlad ng ating mamamayan, human development, education and health, infrastructure, at saka yung good governance. So, yung logic kasi dito is ang broad yung vision, pero maging budgetable dapat yung pag-implement ng every project. So, pangatlo yung sinasabi nating integration of sustainability and equity. Yung shift, ayon sa mga recent analysis, yung bagong PDP ay hindi lang puro GDP growth. So, naka-integrate na rin dito yung sustainability at equity. So, yung holistic approach, ibig sabihin, hindi tayo pwedeng umunlad kung nasisira yung ating kalikasan. So, dapat it should be sustainability at hindi pwedeng umuunlad kung iilan lang yung mayaman or the equity. So, kasama na rin dito yung environmental protection at economic opportunities para sa lahat. So, yung role ng LGU or the localized development, the local allied, hindi dapat ito pang national government. Ang mga LGUs ay inasahang gamitin yung PDP framework para i-guide ang kanilang sariling investment. So, yun siya. It should be also climate resilience as a core strategy. So, ang climate mainstreaming, ang PDP kasi is kinagamit pa rin para i-aim ang climate and environmental policies. Adaptation and mitigation, it should be aligned. So, yun yung PDP, no? So, in summary of the PDP, link ng pagitan ng policy at ang budget, ito yung nagdidikta kung saan mapupunta yung pera ng taong bayan sa loob ng 6 na taon. So, bilang yung challenge dito is siguraduhin ang PDP ay hindi lang nananatili sa document ng NEDA, no? Kasi sila man yung kung nararamdaman ng bawat munisipyo na sa pamamagitan ng tapat na epektibong pamamahala. So, yun siya. So, here in this slides, continue of the PDP in practice. Example daw dito is the governance and the health. So, yung PDP is aims to build the high trust of society and improve the investment climate. So, local implementation produce so more health projects and reduce the child stunting in some LGU. So, kailangan maging reduce yung mga bata, no? Especially for the malnutritions. So, they need to be greater transparency through public reporting and accomplishment. So, generally, good compliance of local health programs with PDP objectives. So, kasi yung ultimate goal ng PDP is yung governance is kailangan talaga ng building a high trust, no? Mas maganda kasi yung investment na ganun,
Dahil yung mga negosyante kasi is takot tayo mag-invest. Yung mga negosyante is takot mag-invest sa mga lugar na maayos na pamamalakad. So another one here is the United Nations SDG, or the 17th SDG. So we are all familiar ng 17 global goals ng SDG is to end the poverty, protect the planet, and ensure the peace and prosperity by the year 2030. So kailangan yung wide strategic planning needs to be integrated when it comes to economic, social, environmental dimensions. So, yung risk dito is very fragmented implementation if goals are addressed in isolation. Kumbaga, kailangan talaga pang global talaga ito. Hindi lang tungkol sa Philippines, kundi in a global nations. So, halimbawa is to address the climate change. If hindi na kaayo ng Philippines to support addressing the global climate change, so how can how can they implement their policies properly if other nations are do not follow, no? So kailangan yung framework na pangkalahatan. So yan. Next is we have SDG in the Philippine context. Philippines committed by the year 2030, Philippines agenda, Philippine Statistic Authority maintain the SDG Watch. The National Implementation Monitor for Clean Energy, yung SDG 7, Industry, Infrastructure, and Innovation. Kasama din yung SDG number 9. So, yung challenges dito is the energy access, industrial competitiveness, infrastructure gaps and opportunities, of course, renewable energy, innovation, policies. We have national, urban, and local planning frameworks. So, ang National Urban Development and Housing Framework is promoting the inclusive, people-centered urban development and right to the city. The National Urban Policy seeks to sustainable, greener, and smarter cities while balancing national and local roles. The LGU is implement the ELA, or the Executive Legislative Agenda. Nagsasubmit sila ng CDP, the Comprehensive Development Plan. Also, sa regional at saka sa local development plans, sa BARM, they also submit, no? So, itong Comprehensive Development Plan, CDP, sinasubmit nila ito from the national NUDHF. So, para isahan na lang yung plano, no? So, ganun nangyayari yung framework. So, here, continues ang CDP or the ELA kanina is covers the social, economic, and infrastructure. Actually, it is a document. Ano yung plano ng LGU? May mga zoning ordinances yan na sinasubmit nila sa NDUHS, yung kanina National Urban Development Housing Settlement, no? So itong documents, dapat ano nga ba yung plano nila within the whole years, no? Yung naka-align dapat doon sa PDP. At saka naka-align din doon sa ambition natin 2040, naka-align din doon sa SDG, yung 17 SDG. So, dito nila ginagawa yung CDP, yung draft of the documents of every LGU. So, kailangan may mga nakakover dito yung social, economic, and infrastructure developments. So, yun yung ibig sabihin nun. So, ano nga ba yung mga investment programs nila that supports their legislative that better outcomes, no? Pangalawa, itong sectoral alignment example. So, nutrition. The Philippine Plan of Action Plan or Nutrition 2017 to 2022 explicit aligned within the SDG. So yung goal dito is to improve the nutrition to support Ambition 2040. So ito yung mga mixed nutrition, nutrition sensitive, and supportive programs. Pangalawa, we have evidence-informed planning and evaluation. National Evaluation Framework promotes the evidences, informed decision-making in major government programs. The NEDA and the partners invest in impact evaluations to improve the accountability and effectiveness. So here, sa strategic planning frameworks, bago gumawa ng plano, kailangan ng malalim na situational analysis, no? And yung PESTL, yung SWOT, yung Strength, Weaknesses, Opportunities, and Threats. So ito yung pagtingin sa loob ng labas ng organizations. When we say PESTLE is the political, economic, social, technology, and legal environment. So ito yung mas malawak na pagsusuri ng ating government or macro environment para masiguradong future proof. So another one, we have the key challenges sa rapid urbanization, capacity constraint, and local level. Coordination issues, data quality problems, and even implementation across sectors and LGU. So in short, yung key challenges is kahit gaano kaganda ng ating plano, yung PDP, SDG, Ambition natin 2040 is may mga mamibigat tayong hamon na kailangang harapin. So una, itong rapid urbanization, yung capacity. Yung problema kasi dito is mabilis tayo masyado paglaki ng mga syudad, pero ang ating mga LGU ay kulang sa capacity. So these are the challenges and gaps. Emerging directions. So policy-driven smart city. So ano ba yung directions natin? So kailangan ang policy that's set from the LGU ay maging smart city framework for LGUs to align digital transformation. The strategic frameworks in universities is kailangan maging globalization, digitalization, equity, at sustainability. So, if you strengthening the middle class resilience and amid global megatrends. So, these are the directions. So, I guess, tapos na. Ito lang yung comparison ng Ambition natin 2040, the PDP, the SDG. From this figure, Ambition natin 2040 is the middle class to secure the poverty-free society, while the PDP is inclusive, resilient growth, human development, while the SDG is to end the poverty, protect the planet, and share the prosperity. So, I guess yun lamang po, and thank you. Ayan, thank you for listening, and shukran. Shukran, sir.